Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of you for your willingness to serve our country. Many of you have incredible resumes. All of you have incredible resumes. I think that it's not unfair to ask you this question. Who's your loyalty to? Once you're confirmed, and if you're confirmed, who do you serve and who's your loyalty to? And we'll start with Ms. Mandelker.
My loyalty is to the American people.
My loyalty is also to the American people and to the laws that govern this country.
Senator, my loyalty is both to the American people and to the Constitution.
Yeah, the Constitution and the American people.
It's critically important to remember that. Sometimes when you're confirmed and people give you positions like this, there may come a time when you're asked to do something that is not in the interest of the American people, that is not in the interest of our checks and balances system in the Constitution, and that will, in fact, jeopardize our national security. And I think it's fair to ask that question today. And so I want to thank you all for the answer. I believe that you're earnest about this, but we all know that there is a slippery slope, and little compromises lead to big compromises. And it's critically important, hopefully, I don't mean to be lecturing here, but that you remember that as you serve once you're confirmed. I want to talk first, Ms. Mandelker. First off, just tell you how moving your family story is and how grateful we are. And I believe your answer a little bit more as a result of the challenges that your family's experienced. But I want to talk about a hearing that we had last week. We heard from two previous distinguished incumbents of the position that you're nominated to about both the value and the limitations of secondary sanctions. How would you go about thinking whether to apply this relatively blunt instrument, and what steps can Treasury take to ensure that sanctions advance tailored national security instruments without unleashing unintended consequences? I think, and I just tell you, I think that when we're looking at this, this is going to become a critical piece, and it's very important that you be clear on how you see secondary sanctions.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. And obviously, it's something that I've been thinking about. I had the opportunity to watch the testimony last week, which I thought was very useful. Both witnesses had excellent ideas, and I appreciate their testimony and their counsel. Issuing secondary sanctions is a blunt instrument. It's an instrument, of course, that worked. It was very impactful when it came to how we used it, how the U.S. government used it in Iran. It is something that I think we have to consider carefully, but we also have to understand what the secondary and tertiary impact might be of using those secondary sanctions. It's something that I will look forward to engaging in a robust conversation within the interagency. It's going to be very, very important that we have a fulsome understanding of what the impact would be, both in executing our national security strategy and then in the other impact it might have on the economy.
Thank you so much. Mr. Billingsley, in your testimony you referenced the importance of buy-in from friendly nations when ratcheting up pressure against on terrorist financing. Trust is a huge factor in this with everyone concerned. What's been your experience at NATO and elsewhere in your career that taught you the importance of forging these alliances and building trust? And do you think that trust based on tweet is a good way to advance our foreign policy interests?
Senator, my daughters will tell you I don't have a Twitter account. I don't have it on my iPhone. As Winston Churchill famously said, the only thing worse than fighting with your allies is fighting without them. Mm-hmm. And so it is crucial. It's painstaking. It requires that you sometimes control your inner voice when you work with allies, but it's essential to bring them along and work very closely with them, particularly.
Do you think it's important to communicate with them in a way that respects them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These are sovereign nations.
So do I. And I think that one of the things that we have to be very, very careful in this environment is understanding who our allies are and who our allies are not. And I think the recent examples of disclosing classified information to foes is not a step in the right direction. And I hope that if you guys are all confirmed, that the advice that you provide will be advice that will be heeded by the White House.